Hi everyone, Garnet here, and welcome to another Q&A session. I really had a lot of fun answering questions in the past couple of sessions, and I'm really looking forward to answering these set of questions. So you know what, let's get right into it. The first question that I have is from PG13 on Instagram, and he asks, how do you remember all your chords when playing the piano? So the way that I remember my chords is just through repetition. So I practice the chords pretty much until I have the muscle memory and until I can just get like a reflex. So if I learn a chord like this, I'm playing that chord over and over again. You know, play over and over again. I arpeggiate it, move it around, and I keep playing it until it becomes a part of my musical vocabulary. So it's all about repetition. Just like how you learn a word and you try and use the word in different situations, I do the same thing when it comes to music. I try and put them in different situations. So if I'm playing a progression like, you know, I just keep I pretty much wear that chord out until it becomes a part of my playing. So repetition, repetition, repetition. And I do it every day. So the next question is from Christopher Rodriguez on Instagram, and he asks, what's your approach to ear training? My approach to ear training is listening to a lot of music. So I learn by just, learning songs and learning ideas and lines and stuff that I like. So that was a line there. And what I would do is I would just sit down and listen to it over and over and over again. So I would try and sing it. So I would work on my ears by listening to lines like that, and I would try and mimic the line. Because it's through listening that you get to add to your vocabulary and you strengthen your ear that way. Singing also helps, and I'm breaking out of the shell and learning to sing and mimic what I'm hearing. So I was often taught that if you can sing it, you can play it. If you can't sing it, then you probably can't play it. So ear training is definitely listening to music and learning the music. That strengthens your ear. I mean, you also have ear training apps, you have ear training classes, you have ear training programs online that can help, with learning like your intervals, like learning like perfect fifths, minor sevenths, minor thirds, just knowing all of that stuff. And that helps. But I find that listening to music and trying to mimic what you're hearing, that helps out with the ear training. So my suggestion is to listen to music that you like first, so you can kind of gain momentum and mimic what you're singing and try and sing what you're hearing. And then you'll be surprised how quickly you will start picking up stuff, because it's like a muscle. The more you lift weights, the stronger you get. The same thing with your ear. The more you listen and the more you try and mimic, the stronger your ear gets. And then again, the bigger vocabulary you'll have musically. So the next question is from Jackie Loves You on Instagram. And she asks, what scales degree do your left hand chords usually consist of when you have a bass player versus when you don't? That's a really good question. When I'm playing solo piano, I tend to play more tenths and sevenths in my left hand, so I can fill out the harmony, right? So if I'm playing a 2-5-1 progression in the key of C, what I would do is I will play 10th, which is D and F, and then I will play a 7th, which would be G to F, and then I'll play a 10th again, C and the E. Now if you can't reach a 10th, what you can do is you can play as a 3rd, and then play a 7th, and then you can play a C and a G in the left hand, or C and the E in the left hand. If you want that big sound though, one way you can get around that is kind of rolling that interval. Just kind of play C then E, kind of roll it. Right, so it will sound like this. Really quick. I do that when I'm playing solo piano. Now when it comes to playing with a bass player, I tend to stay out of that lower register because the bass player already has that covered. So my chords would tend to be a little different in my left hand. So if I'm playing that same progression, that 2-5-1 in C, I would probably do something like this. I'll play for that D minor chord, I'll play F, G, A, C, and E. I'll play that. And then when I go to the G dominant 7 chord, I will just play F, B, and E. And it sounds weird by itself because there's no bass. But in my mind, I'm kind of hearing the bass line anyway, so it's implied. So I'm playing. And then when I go to that C major chord, I'll play E, G, B, D. I'll play that. So, and I'll still keep that. I would still play the melody sometimes as an octave. I played a different chord there. In the left hand, I could play this. I could play E, A, D, depending on, what's going on musically. What I'm doing in my left hand in this case is called rootless voicings, because the bass player is playing the root, so I can just. The key thing in this is to make sure that if you're playing with the bass player, you just stay out of the bass player's register, because the bass player wants to be able to roam free in that low register. It'll clash. So the rootless voicings will always help when playing with the bass player. Now, if you're playing solo piano, you can play it down in that low register any which way you want. Now, our next question comes from Soul Sounds on Instagram, and he asks, what is your daily / frequent exercise routine for practicing and improving your technique? One exercise that I find really helpful is practicing scales. I practice scales every day, and I have a key that I focus on each day. So let's say for today, I will be playing in the key of B. So I'm playing the B major scale. And when I'm playing the B major scale, I'm making sure that I'm not tense, that my shoulders are down, that my wrists are loose, that my arms are relaxed. Not to the point where it's like this all mushy and I'm sounding like this, but that there's no tension. And I use a metronome to help keep that line. one more exercise that I like to do is playing the chromatic scale. So I like playing the chromatic scale in the contrary motion, meaning I will start on C in my left hand and E in my right hand, starting off with my thumbs. And pretty much I make it like a mirror image. So the next question comes from J. Fred Robinson, and he asks, when transitioning from piano to organ, what's the first thing you encourage musicians to do? The first thing that I encourage musicians to do is to find an organ. That's really important because you want to be able to at least get to the instrument and check out all the, the different functions and stuff, understand the drawbars, understand the pedals, and, all the different sounds that you can create from the organ. The second thing, in addition to that, to playing the organ and finding the organ, is to listen to organ players that you like. There are a lot of organ players out there that you can check out. Here's a list of some organ players that are very influential in this day and time, regardless of genre. The third thing that I encourage musicians to do when transitioning from piano to organ is to practice the organ consistently. And it's best that you practice the organ 20 minutes every day than practice for 3 hours on one day. Repetition is the key. You got to be consistent in your practice of the organ every single day. It's 20 minutes every day. It's a lot better than 3 hours for just one day. As you practice for 20 minutes every day, or half an hour every day, you start to really understand and learn the instrument. So to recap, number one, find an organ. Number two, check out some organ players from the list I just gave, or even go and seek out some organ players that you may know and hang out with them and listen to them. And number three, practice the organ consistently every day, even if it's for like 20, 30 minutes. So the next question that I have comes from Nikanzo Similani on Instagram, and he asks, how do you think in terms of harmony and voicings? The way that I think about harmony and voices is it depends on what's going on around me. I always keep the melody in mind. That's my first priority. It's my main priority. And then I build around that. Once I have the melody in place, then I start to think more about colors. So when I play a chord, I want to put out a feeling. So if I take a melody like from Stella by Starlight, and I play this chord here, that shows a mood, it shows a color. Now I can change the notes and that will change the color. So, right? So I just changed a few notes. So that first chord I played, it was an E minor 9. But then I just changed a couple of the notes. So I played, instead of a B, I played a B flat. And that completely changes the color of the chord. So depending on what's going on, I can change notes at will. Another way that I think about colors is playing inversions. So if I have this chord here, that E minor 9, I can voice it a different way. I can voice it like this. I can voice it this way. I can voice it this way. I can voice it this way. I can voice it many different ways, but what matters is setting that mood. That mood is really important. So our final question in this segment comes from Regular Girl, and she asks, what are a few of your favorite warm-up technique exercises that you assign to younger beginner students? Do you use Garnet? Based on the earlier question, scales are very important. So I tell younger students that are beginning to practice scales. And if they can't manage scales right away, you can do a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pattern. So you can do something like this. And all I'm doing there is just playing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pattern. So my right hand is playing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And my left hand is going 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then putting it together. Starting off slowly, of course. And once the student gets that underneath their fingers, then we start going into the scales. Starting slowly, of course. To answer the second question, if I use Hannon, I start off with Hannon. That's how I was brought up. I started off using Hannon. So I started off with Hannon, and I found it to be very helpful because it helps to strengthen the fingers. I don't bank on it too much because sometimes you can kind of go on autopilot playing it, and they're only in the key of C. I'd like to thank everybody for sending me the questions. I really appreciate it. It's really cool just getting a chance to share what I know. I got a lot of questions, and there's some questions where I'm going to have to do a separate video on them because it's very extensive. But I really appreciate just the participation, and I hope I answered your questions. And if you want more information, if you want more clarity, feel free to send me an email. Feel free to message me on social media on the links that are on the screen. And I'm just here to just share what I know and help musicians get to another place, another level. So if you like this channel, please press the subscribe button and press the bell so you'll get notified for whenever new videos are being uploaded. I appreciate the support, and look out for some more Q&A videos, some more music videos, and more music. So again, thank you so much for your support, and have a great day.